for people wanting to become storyboard artists or directors?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first of all, it's a storyboarding. Yeah, I think with storyboarding, go out there and draw people, experience what other, try to get away from just looking at other animation and read other stories, like just fiction, and get out there and see what people are doing, like draw people from life, gesture, little quick sketches in cafes and everything, and look for other stories that haven't been told before from your point of view. I mean, everything's kind of been told, but it's like finding something that speaks to you in your own voice that you can tell, and not like what somebody else has done. And it's sort of easier said than done, but I think really just getting out there and trying to find your own voices. I find a lot of animation today is a little too derivative of other stuff that's been done, and I think we're so immersed. It's really difficult because we're so inundated by media and everything we've seen. We're really infected by from day one of seeing so many stories and stuff. And the reason we've gotten into this business is because we've fallen in love with, these animations from the past and everything. So it's hard to like get away from what's already been done or be kind of corrupted a little bit by all that stuff. And it filters through you back into it. I mean, there's definitely stuff in the Inventor that's like stuff I've put in there that is homage to other animated moments I've seen and things and moments in movies and everything. So it's hard to get away from it. But if you can, at the core of the story is tell it through your own experience, your own kind of things you love and desire and want to get out into the world, and your own point of view on whatever the subject matter is. I think that's the best thing. And again, with storyboarding, just remember too, it's so weird. I mean, storyboard's such a giant field because you have different forms of storyboarding too. So it's hard to like just say what the main thing is. I mean, as far as the technical way, I think that there's so many resources now to look at different storyboards and the way people have done them, that I think you can see how other people do it. You want to keep, in the like basic sense, you want to keep one idea at a time, keep it clear, make sure it's conveying the story that you want to convey, and you're not clouding it with a weird camera angle that's hard to read. Sometimes it's better, simpler is better lots of times, if you can stage it simply to convey that story. It's a communication tool, so you want to make sure it communicates. So if it's not doing that, I mean, the other advantage we used to have when we pinned them all up on the storyboard and put it in a room, you would have to be able to read it from across the room. So your drawings would have to really speak, have to be drawn in a way that the silhouettes of the characters really read, and everything's to somebody who was in the back of the room who you were pitching the story to, because they would fill in with a bunch of the artists, and you'd pitch it to everybody. And today I don't know if that's getting lost because everybody's pitching digitally on screens and going one drawing at a time. But that idea, the one thing I do feel like is lost is this, because when we used to pin up on storyboards, you wouldn't be able to, like if somebody was running through a scene, you would draw a drawing of somebody running, one drawing, maybe two. Now they draw animate it. Basically, a lot of storyboard artists seem to animate the run cycle. And if you were to pin all that up on a board, you take up the whole board with one idea. So we were trained in the old Disney, like if you look at a great story artist from Disney, Bill Peet, you look at his boards, each one tells the story of that moment in that one drawing. And that, I think, is getting lost. And I like to call them storytelling drawings. And I think that's something to try to get back to, because I feel like, one, I would notice when I supervised story artists at Pixar was a lot of the artists were getting hurt because they were drawing so much, because they were animating these scenes and they were physically getting hurt. They're getting RSI and all this stuff. And they were putting in so much work. And then I'd hear from the editing department that they're putting in all these drawings. I'm throwing them out because it's like bogging us down in the edit. We just don't need that. And I'm like, oh my God, these people are hurting themselves and they're not even using the drawings. And then the other thing I realized is, if it was making the films like, 1,000 times better or several times better, then I'd go, okay, well, it's worth it that people are drawing all these drawings. But it was turning out that the films weren't getting any better, all these drawings, than when we used to do it way back in Bug's Life, which was still more drawings in those boards than we did at Disney on Lion King and Hunchback. So I was seeing this trend that was really bad. And I think a lot of it has to do with the digital tools and pitching through it one drawing at a time, and you wanting to see the flow, the movement flow better. And it's like, that's not telling story. It's making something move. And that is not what animation's about. I mean, even in Animator, just moving a character isn't, yes, you've moved the character, bravo. But is it telling the story? Is it telling the character? Is it telling the moment? And maybe they don't need to move at all. I mean, look at some Bugs Bunny cartoons that are like beautiful and it's like one pose and it says everything. So I think as a story artist, if you can go back to that basic thing of like, can you tell your story in one drawing or two drawings? Like that moment in the, in the pose, that's a great place to go back to.
That's absolutely wonderful advice. And I think anyone watching this who's starting off making their own films, perhaps third-year students or early career animators, people who are creating their own films, will be clearing posters off walls and sticking up boards and doing it the old-fashioned way. The old ways are the best, as they say. Jim Capobianco, thank you very much for that fantastic interview. We've got some fantastic feedback in the chat room. So first I'd like to, before I thank Jim,